Holly Williams joins us on Cloud Interrupted. Holly, thank you for joining us. And today we're going to talk about a very important aspect of doing IT projects that I think a lot of people may miss: adding a project manager. And Holly is our project manager here at Stratum. So
Yay,
thanks
me.
for joining me, Holly.
Well, Jack, thank you for having me today.
So let's start a little bit about what you do and what how do you I'm sure it's like corralling cats, right? Like when you're dealing with IT projects like this.
Yes, Jack, it is. Just like herding cats. Yeah, it gets a little fun. It gets have to be a little creative to get people to give me the information I need in a timely manner. A lot of times, you guys are caught up in the activity of being an engineer, and you forget that I need the updates to make sure that we're following through with our documentation, keeping our project plan in order. A lot of times, because as you have mentioned in past conversations, engineers tend to be people pleasers. I find that you guys will go above and beyond what is the intended scope of our project. And that's an opening for me to step in and be the bad guy and say, hey, we need to take a step back and look at what we're doing and regroup to make sure we're focused on what the project is supposed to be, and not everything all the guys at the client site would love to get done in that 30-minute call they have with you today. So a lot of times the project manager has to be the bad guy to stop some activities because we have to keep everybody on budget and on time. Mm-hmm. And it really is kind of that cat herding concept of continuing to keep in touch, communicate with the team to gather the information, keep the documents updated, and keep senior management updated. So it's kind of that middle position as well between the boots on the ground and the guys with their heads in the cloud.
Right. No, it's definitely obvious that when we're on these calls and you're joining, it really helps to have somebody who's keeping an eye on the statement of work, which is our target, and the path there. It's really easy when we are IT folks. We can easily get off of plan and into another direction, and not only is it going to help us keep us on time, but it also helps us keep us on budget.
Yes. And those are two key factors when working a project. Always we want to make sure our clients are happy and they're getting what they think they signed up for. But a lot of times sales goes out and they put a nice bow around the neck of you guys, and then I need to step in and make sure that everybody's on the same page. So when we start off a project with a kickoff call, it's very important that we set expectations and we make sure that we're all on the same page with what the definition of done is, what that deliverable is that we're all shooting to get to, and what our timeline is. Because a lot of times the client has, expectations that we're going to be able to snap our fingers, and because it's the cloud, it's so easy and quick and it's going to be done in a day. And we haven't figured out what we need to know at that point. So that kickoff call is important to make sure that we're setting that stage for what the next days, weeks will come, and what our deliverable, what the end of the project looks like.
Sure. So let's start with that kickoff call. What if somebody's joining a kickoff call for the first time with Stratum, what should they expect?
Well, Jack, I'm glad you asked. But first, let's define which kickoff call, because we have two. Okay. We have our internal call. That is the Stratum team. And that's where we get together with the sales guy and we see what color ribbon he put around your neck, which is my way of not saying putting lipstick on the pig. So we see what the sales guys have sold, and we figure out from there what our approach needs to be going into the client kickoff. So that internal kickoff is really where we, the engineering team, do the legwork to say, what is the project? What do we believe it's going to be? And what questions do we need to ask? So once I gather all that information with you guys, I set up the client kickoff call. And at that point, I've gathered enough questions, and we've put together quite a few prerequisite documents and some good information going into a client kickoff that I can send out in advance to try and gather information from the client, again, before that client kickoff call, to set you guys up so you have a better understanding of what their environment looks like. They know that we're going to need access, and hopefully we'll have started working on getting things ready for you guys. So when we have the client kickoff, we can say, all right, we're ready to go. Let's do it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's
So,
kind
and
of
then
a
when
nutshell.
we're in that first kickoff call with the client, I guess it's kickoff call part 2.
Yes.
What would the customer expect to see?
Well, the customer will have received a set of questions from me. As I said, mentioned the prerequisite document that we are trying to standardize as we go through each type of cloud project. We're trying to get more procedural in what we put out to the client. Makes it a little easier on you guys getting information to me as much as we can standardize. So the client should expect to be peppered with more questions,
Mm-hmm.
and to go through and review the scope of the statement of work, and then make sure that we have access, that we've asked the right questions to make sure you have access into their environment and that they're comfortable with what our next steps are going to be. We review what the timeline's going to be, and we go through a high level of A to Z with the client on that call, so they understand that you're going to be in and out of their environment and exactly what you'll be doing, and we negotiate how we're going to handle all of the steps.
Sure. So, and then we have those ongoing meetings with the customer, and you kind of pop in and out of some of those. Like, what do you typically find that the project manager has to step in on during those working session type calls?
Typically, it is the client asking for things that are not included in the scope of work, the statement of work. And it can easily go from a troubleshooting issue of what you're supposed to be doing to you discover that, well, they really need a lot of help cleaning up this environment. And it becomes an effort of, well, if we just go ahead and do this now, it'll make what we need to do easier. But that cleaning effort our project. So I need to jump in and say, okay, guys, we need to take a step back, figure out what can we do to stay on scope of the project, stay on focus of what our timeline is. And then I try to bring our director of professional services in to make sure that he's communicating back to the salesperson that here's another opportunity where we could get involved and help the client more than what our intended SOW stated. So
Sure.
if at that point, if we can easily write up a change order, then we take that approach. But if it needs to be another project, then that's what it is. But it's my role in those working sessions is really helping you guys stay in the right lane and not have to be the guy that says, nope, I can't do that. Because we always want the client to look to you as, their hero, the guy who comes in and makes things work well and smoothly, and it's in the cloud.
It's in the cloud.
In the cloud.
So let's say we get to the end of the project and we're get to the completion, at least to the statement of work completion. How does that closing call look?
It looks like a happy dance. It's usually in our projects go pretty well, and everybody's happy when we get to that point. Leading up to the closing call, we try to put together a demo for the client so that if it's the director of IT on the client side that is our number one stakeholder, that you may have been working with their engineering team and he or she has not had visibility to the final product. So we do a demo and we make sure that everybody who's been involved from day one of the project is included on that demo so they get to see what you've done. And then we go into what you mentioned as the client closing call. And that's where we review our closing document, which will be a deck that includes all of the pieces of the pie that you've put together, whether it's building out a network to have the network diagram or other bits and pieces of building out VMs, migrations, whatever it is that you guys have done, we put in that closing deck to lay it all out there for as a good reference tool. And then we always put in helpful links to assist the client in, their team in building out their knowledge, which is part of the knowledge transfer that we also include in, I think, 99% of our projects.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the point where we bring sales in again, and we kind of lay out some next steps as you guys are, intimately involved in helping with their environment. You see things that they may not see because they're in the weeds, and you guys are the fresh eyes looking in. So we try to bring sales in to say, hey, here's some other things that we could do to help you streamline your environment, gain more efficiencies, become more cost effective, all those fun things that equal saving money and time.
Thank you for watching Stratum's Cloud Interrupted. If you like what you see, please subscribe, like, and share this video.